Hello, 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 and happy Thursday night. It's time for Thursday Night Live with me, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all. Sir, I have a lozenge in my mouth and it's flying all over. Thank you all for tuning in tonight to the show. I think it's going to be an interesting topic that I'm hoping everyone will get benefit out of. And I'm just really glad that you could come here today and share this time with you. Because when you show up and hang out with me, I think it's just a healing experience for everyone because we just get to chill and kumbaya together and just, be with each other. And so, one of the things that I have talked about in different ways is the whole concept of mindfulness. And mindfulness is our ability to check in and focus on what is going on inside. So I know we've talked about breathing as a mindfulness practice where we're using our thoughts to pay attention to our breath. And one of the breathing exercises that we talked about was the 4-7-8 breath, where you breathe in for 4, hold it for 7, and then exhale it for 8. And there's the breathing part, which activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps the body to relax. But there's also the whole aspect of counting and paying attention to that count. And that really is the realm of mindfulness, of doing an activity and focusing our attention on whatever that is, whether we are being mindful while we're eating and taking a bite and savoring the flavors and counting how many times we chew it and noticing the sensation in our mouth and then the swallowing, versus, like just chomping it down, to mindfully taking a shower. I mean, anything that we do, we can do from a mindful place. But one of the things that I've heard from a lot of people, myself included, is that it can be a little bit challenging when you first start, and even the breathing can be a little bit challenging to get the mind to quiet down, because that's one of the benefits of being mindful, is it makes it so that our brain kind of slows down. And so there's a technique that we're going to talk about today that kind of, there's not a breathing element, but there's a counting or a mindful element, but there's also an activity tied to it. So it makes it so that it's kind of like breathing, but better. And that technique is called tapping. And so if you've heard of tapping, yay, great for you. I hope you do practice it. And if you haven't, it is really easy to do. There's, not like you need to have all kinds of training in order to practice tapping. And I'm going to go over it, but if you don't remember the positions, et cetera, there's tons of information online. Okay. Because one of the things I wanted to talk about before I actually get into the whole tapping exercise is there are 2 states that we want to be in. I mean, obviously we want to be happy, or content or joyful or, have positive feelings in our lives. But the only way that we can have those feelings is when we are aligned with source. So aligned with source and our energy is in the flow. And so when we have those 2 pieces together, we can experience more positive, more upbeat emotion and a much calmer inner world. When we're out of alignment and out of the flow, things get to be a little bit more challenging. Here's an example. So, when I actually had a day job and had to drive to work every day versus my commute now, there were days that I would be running late, and I a lot of the times took surface streets. And even though they had the lights timed, where if you drove the correct speed limit, you could get through the lights, but no, that wasn't happening. And one of the things that I became aware of was if I was rushed, so if I was out of alignment and I was out of my little zen, I would hit every freaking light, every one of them. And so I started to catch myself. It's like, okay, I'm like driving, get out of my way, get out of my way, and then I hit a light. And I use that as the kind of trigger to make me go, oh, you need to calm down because you are going to hit every single light. What was going on? I was out of alignment and I was out of the flow. But once you can get yourself back into alignment, that's when better things happen. And, one of the gauges is the more upset you are, the more anxious you are, the more worried you are, is an indicator that you're further out of the flow and further out of alignment. And so the goal is, again, to bring you back, maybe not perfect, maybe the world's not going to be perfect, but, kind of in that crazed, running around psycho place, just being cranky would be better than that. Okay. So tapping comes from traditional Chinese medicine. It is based on, I am going to say, acupuncture. Acupuncture proposes that there are 12 meridians that are kind of like blood vessels that run through the body that carry our subtle energy, our chi, our life force through the body. And so when you get an acupuncture treatment, there are also like little access points all along the meridians, and depending on what's going on, they will insert a needle into the acupuncture point to activate it and stimulate it to support the movement of energy in it. Because if you think about it, when they activate a point, it's kind of like it's swollen or congested or has plaque in it, and it's inhibiting the movement of that energy. And so the acupuncture needles help to increase flow. And so tapping works kind of on the same principle, where if you tap, you will be activating these different meridians. Instead of having points all over the body, they focus on 9 points. So acupuncture has 12 meridians. Tapping only works with 9 of the 12 meridians. And so if you have done tapping before in the more, I'm going to say traditional method, but if you've known me for very long, nothing is ever traditional. But in the traditional method, usually the person would come up with an issue. So for example, let's say you're feeling afraid. And so you would make a statement to yourself. So on the side, I hope I can make this work on camera. On the side of your hand, there's what's called the karate chop point. And so you would be tapping the karate chop point and going, all right, camera, even though I'm feeling afraid, I love and honor myself. Even though I'm feeling afraid, I love and honor myself. And whatever the issue is that's going on, you can make a statement about it and then use that, and I love and honor myself. And again, there are a lot of people that go into a lot of detail about that part. And some people have these like 2-page books, like, even though in this moment I have bad hair and I'm feeling kind of crappy and blah, 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 blah. It's like too complicated for me. Sorry. This was my takeaway from the whole tapping experience. when you're tapping, or when I'm tapping, I'll just say me, when I'm tapping, instead of like saying all of this stuff that, I don't know, I never really noticed a shift in my energy doing it. But when I just started counting, that's when so that's when I start to yawn, and usually if I start to yawn, that means that there's energy moving and things are shifting and my energy is grounding and grounding out. So I like when I yawn. I like when I'm doing energy work on my clients and then I yawn because I know their energy is shifting also. So I'm just a big yawner, and if you went on my webpage, soulhealer.com, under the energy healing tab, there's a video of me being interviewed by a news report about energy healing, and they wanted me to do a session, and all I do is yawn through the whole thing. It was embarrassing, but hey, free publicity. It's all good. So if you want to see me yawning, although I'm sure you're going to get to experience that right now, you can go check that out there. Anyway, so I'm just going to point to the different points, and then I think we will all of us do 2 rounds of tapping. So you can do 1 round, you can do 2 rounds, you can do 10 rounds. This one guy suggested that he would tap for like an hour a day. Personally, I can't imagine doing that, but I can see, I mean, for myself, there have been days where I've done, like 2 or 3 rounds of tapping here, and then, a couple hours later, I do another couple of rounds of tapping, and so progressively throughout the day, I have found there are times where I will tap regular, a lot, depending. So, all right. So we talked about the karate chop point, and then the next point is on the top of the head. So we'll tap there. The next one is on the inside of the eyebrow. The next one is on the outside of the eye. Underneath the eye, I probably should use a different finger. Underneath the eye, over the lip, under the lip, and these last 2 are going to be a little bit hard. But there's a point, like right here, that's one point, and then under the arm, and so, they say, for women, it's where the bra line is, but it's under the arm, and that's the last point. And so, since you're not familiar with tapping, I would, suggest that you leave your eyes open while we go through this. But once you are familiar with this technique, please do close your eyes because it does deepen your intention to doing it. And I said that instead of doing these phrase things, I count, and I have found that I like to do a count of 7. And for some reason, I like doing 2 counts of 7 on each point. So that's what I'm going to do through this whole thing. Okay. And I'm going to close my eyes because I know where I'm going. Okay. So everybody, let's just take a nice deep breath. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, and moving. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The eyebrow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Underneath the side of the eye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Underneath the eye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Above the lip. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Below the lip. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. On the chest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then under that arm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then go ahead and take another deep breath and notice how you feel. I mean, I think it was interesting that I didn't yawn at all, but I also was counting out loud versus counting in my mind, which is what I normally do. Um, but notice how you feel. See if you feel a little calmer or a little bit more present, or I don't know, just a little better, a little clearer. That's my hope. And again, you can do this anywhere at any time. You don't have to be in some like meditative state to do this. It's just giving yourself and see how long it took to do that round. I mean, it didn't take very long at all. And one of the things that I've also noticed that I want to mention before I wrap this up is if you're doing it and you're not really feeling like you're noticing any changes, pay attention to how fast you are actually tapping. I've worked with some people and it's like, oh, I do tapping. And it's like, okay, well, let's do it. And they're like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's like, no, well, no wonder why nothing's happening. It's like, you have to slow it down, and breathe while you're doing it. It really accentuates the whole thing. So that's tapping. Again, it is a mindfulness practice, which will help you become more aware of what's going on inside and more aware of what's happening in the world around you. And so I hope you do try it. Again, tons of information online, or you can review this video if you don't remember. But yeah, tapping. All right. So here's my little announcement, and then I will say hi to everybody. If you would like to schedule a private consultation with me, please visit my webpage, which is soulhealer.com. Drop me a line and we will get something set up. Or you can like my Facebook page, Dr. Rita Louise on Facebook, and I always post the live stream information on there, which you don't have to be my friend. It always appears public, so I guess, well, this is a like page, so it's not even a friend page, but it's always public. So I think if you go to the page, you can still view it and access the live stream. You can go to my YouTube page, which is Just Energy Radio on YouTube, where you can catch the live stream. But if you're there, please like my page, subscribe, hit the notification button, leave me a note, give me a thumbs up. I don't know, YouTube wants way too much stuff. But do everything because you love me. And, here's a new one I'm adding. Well, no, I'm not going to do that because the webpage is messed up. When I get it fixed, it will be coming up. Okay, so let me say hi to everybody, and then I'm going to scroll back up and answer and respond to any questions. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so hey, Marco, it is so nice to see you in here. And Antone, hi, I hope you're doing good. Reese and Jackson, hi. I would like have Raylan and put his little face over here for you to say hi to him too. But then he would want to lick my face and that wouldn't be good. Hey, Miss Cindy. Hey, Reese. Hey, Jackson. You make my heart happy. Okay. Hey, Dawn. Nice to see you. Great. Well, it looks like we have some new faces in here. Miss Veronica, nice seeing you again this week. Debbie, listening in the car. Perfect. Oh, Veronica says, we do love you. Oh, and my boys are in there. And Bon Jovi's in the house, and he's just going to smack me for that one. Okay. Okay, and so Cindy said Jackson is tapping. It would probably be a really good one for him because he does kind of get out of control sometimes. So, All right, so, oh, wait a minute, let me do the little banner thing. All right, so please post your detailed questions in the chat box and I will respond to them. So let's see. So one of the things that I just found out is that uh, StreamYard, which is what I use to stream this, now makes it so that you can see, like if I type in the chat box, it will actually go out to YouTube. So I'm going to put another comment in here. And if it shows up on Facebook, can somebody let me know? I already know that it's on YouTube. Alrighty. Okay, so anybody have any questions for me today? Okay. All right. So, uh, so Marco, for the people that are in here regular, so Marco's might seem like a fairly new face, but I've known Marco for, God, almost 15 years from when I was doing my radio show, Just Energy Radio. And he was one of my regular people who used to get in trouble. Oops. Okay. So Susan says, so many questions. Well, Susan, lay them on me, like real questions. And Veronica, I know you always have questions. So hit me up. And in the meantime, I'm going to come up with something else to talk about. We're still tapping. That's good. So Cindy says that her and Reese and Jackson are still tapping. What I want to know, Cindy, is are you all yawning yet? I mean, I think you've been around me enough that, there should just be a whole big room of yawning people. So, all right. So I'm going to go back since well, Dawn is back with a question, so I guess I'm just going to go right there. Okay, so Dawn says, hi, Rita. I am having chronic extreme pain issues with my knees, bursitis type. It's been on and off for the last 18 months. Thoughts? Okay. So when I look at your knees, Dawn, I feel like kind of depending on what is going on, you'll hit this very inflammatory state in your knees. And it's really hard for me from, this very quick, kind of circle view to identify specifically what's setting it off. But I feel like there's something that you're doing or something that you're eating that is setting it off. And then you just have to kind of ride the cycle out. It feels like there's not much. All right, there's a word for it, but it's not coming to me right in the moment. But okay, so there are two joints, and there's that pad that sits in between, and yours doesn't seem like it's very thick anymore. Many people talk about consuming gelatin to help build that up. So that might help. I would say working with anti-inflammatories like turmeric and ginger or other anti-inflammatory type substances, I think would be really helpful. Your body is telling me also omega-3 oil. So I have a lot of people that come, I don't feel like, it just seems like you're right. It's on and off, and it's not this constant level of pain where I would say, well, if it's that bad, you might consider knee replacement, but it's not consistent. So I feel like there are things that you can do to help build that up. But I feel like, again, it's because of, God, why can't I think of that word? but the little pad that's in between the bones, you know, and one of the other things, and this is kind of random, um, they're suggesting that you really need to pay attention to your water levels, that you're seeming a little bit uh, dehydrated. Okay, Dawn? So if you have a follow-up question, just post that below. All right, so Sup Guy says, my granddaughter does not respond to her name. Any insights why? She does hear sounds and seems sensitive to loud noises. Okay, so I'm going to make the assumption that your granddaughter is very young. I am feeling like the range of sounds that she's hearing is somewhat diminished. You know, so it's not, I mean, there's the volume, which is one, but then there's also the tone of it. Um, you know, and so again, you know, it's really hard when when they're really super young and, you know, can't really respond well. Um, You know, I mean, if you think she's old enough to go see a doctor and have her hearing checked, um, you know, I will assume that there are doctors that work with infants, you know, but I would also assume that they need to be, you know, a certain age before they will take them as a patient because they need to be able to respond a certain way. Did that make sense? Please follow up question if you have it. All right. So Cindy says, no, not healing, yawning from exhaustion. I don't know. It's like you do all kinds of stuff, and then the body is just wanting to let go of the charge that it's picked up throughout the day and then just leave you. So maybe there's some healing in there going on too. All right. So Mary just got here and says, got here late. Hi, Rita. Hey, Mary. All right, but sometimes we need to read these. Okay, Susan says, I have recently had a very large change in family dynamic. Can you give me any insight? Okay, so Susan, I would love to because, you know, before I became Dr. Rita Louise, I was Rita Louise, the psychic chick, and I love talking about family stuff because it's kind of like gossiping about people you don't know. But can you be just a tad more specific in your question about what the family dynamic was that changed, because it would be easier for me if I know who all the players are. Okay, all right, but I will come back to you. So Sin says hi. All right. So Veronica says, I had knee surgery on my left knee and the leg muscle affects my groin. I cannot sit comfortably. What do you recommend to fix this? I am doing healthy foods and subs and physical therapy. And then the follow up on that was, would a knee replacement be a good option for me? Veronica, I'm going to say no because I'm not feeling like the primary issue is with the knee. I feel like the primary issue has more to do with the muscles, you know, and the surgery. Um, so physical therapy, yay. Stretching, yay. Massaging that muscle, you know, and I bet you could talk to your physical therapy person and they can show you exactly where, you know, with like a handheld massager. Perfect. Um, there's also something that's called myofascial release. Please don't ask me to spell it because I guess I could look it up. Hang on. Okay, it's MYOFASCIAL. MYOFASCIAL. Myofascial release. And what that does, it's a kind of massage technique where they actually go into the muscles and break up adhesions. And so, okay, so muscle tissue they're stranded, and when we have some kind of an injury or a surgery, and so when we have good flexibility, they can like move around. That's what they do. When we have surgery, we get like plaque or material that get in between these muscle fibers, and that's what creates the tension a lot. And that's really what I'm feeling, is that you the muscle seems short, and that's why you're feeling it in the groin. But where it's, but the origination point is down by your knee, but it's affecting that whole long muscle. And so my feeling is that if they can go in and break that up, and you really work with the massage and the physical therapy, that you should be able to get some relief from that. With knee surgery, all right, let's see. Okay, but so Veronica said PT isn't working. Again, look for the myofascial release. Um, PT is like, do 3 of these, and they give you like, that's even too heavy. They give you this little thing, and it's like, okay, I did 3, and it's like, it's so freaking lame half the time. Um, yeah. All right. All right. So John says, finally, my first time catching this live. Yay! Hey, John. I'm an abductee and experiencer, wondering your insights on this. Okay. All right, John. So I'm not really sure where to go with my response. Very interesting question, and I like it. So if you could just maybe be a little more specific about about the whole phenomena, that would be great. All right, but I will come back to you. Ooh. Okay, so Susan, boy, this really is gossipy. Okay, so Susan wanted to know about the family dynamics. Hang on a second, I'm going back up. All right, so the question was originally, I have recently had a very large change in my family dynamic. Can you give me any insight? Okay. And so then the follow up was, it was a DNA test that told me that my dad was not my father. I feel like I'm in a slight identity crisis, honestly. And I don't blame you for having a bit of an identity crisis. Um, so, even though your dad wasn't your bio dad, I feel like he still loves and cares for you, and you will always be his child. Even if on a piece of paper you're not his child. Um, the question I have, right? Hang on a second. All right. So the question I have, because I'm nosy, is, did your mom really know about this? And I kind of get the impression that she had questions, but never really asked. Um, so I mean, I get it, and I know that it can be quite a shock, but your dad is still going to be your dad, and your bio dad, it really becomes your choice whether you want to reach out to him or not. Um, I don't get the impression, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that your dad necessarily, okay, And I hope you're hearing that necessarily new. So I guess I'm not really picking up like there was this whole big deception on their part, which I think would be the more upsetting part to me. But please correct me if I'm wrong about that. Okay, so Sin wants to know, and I don't really understand this either. My question is, do you think I will be a successful with neuron writer? And I don't know what that is. So um, if you tell me, I can maybe look at it. All right. So Veronica says, I do all that except myo release, and I'm feeling like that's really, if there's going to be relief, that's what it's going to, where it's going to come from. Um, what many people don't understand is that, once you break something, once you have a surgery, the how you get put back together is how you get put back together. And sometimes it's just something, and I don't like saying this out loud, that you have to just um, live with and deal with and try to find ways to work around it and have it, make it be where you can live with it, but I do think that myofascial release will help. Okay. Okay, and now we have Enola, somebody who is a spammer. I think she needs a reading. Wow. So Susan says that she knew it. It was a 50-year family secret. Wow. Okay, now I can see why you would be feeling betrayed. Um, but I don't know that it's as much of an identity crisis as having that feeling come up for you that it was this big secret. All right, so I'm gonna like share some juice because there's no one in my family on here. So I don't know, probably about 7 or 8 years ago, I found out that my brother had a girl with some woman like 30 years ago, and no one knew about it at all. And so she came and reached out to the family, and people were like, well, who are you? And she's like, oh, well, we're so and so's daughter. And it was like, what? It was the biggest secret. And the really weird part is she looks just like him, except in girl form. So it was kind of hard for him to walk away from that one. um, my hope, all right, Susan, I can understand that why you're having an identity crisis. My hope for you is that you can take a few deep breaths, you can do a little mindfulness work, and sit down and find out why they chose to keep this secret. I mean, it's just such a touchy thing when that happens. And, people get in their own guilt and they get into their shame and their embarrassment, and they think they're going to tell the person, but then they just can't get past themselves. Um, yeah. Excuse me. All right. So neuron or sin, she wants to know about the neuron thing. Uh, I don't know. I mean, I'm feeling really stupid today. I don't really know what you're working on. I don't know what that does. I mean, you're either a good writer and that makes it be better, but it can't write for you, if that makes sense. Um, and I'm going to like throw the question back at you. So, Sid, have you been writing? And if you've been writing, how far are you into your writing project? How's that? Uh, okay, so Antone said that he lost the video feed. So are there people still out there? I mean, I'm still showing people viewing what's going on, but I don't know. Um, and what happened to my UFO guide? Is he gone already? John? Are you gone, John? Are you lost in the no feed? Were you abducted from this live stream? Oh, okay, came back on. All right, thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Veronica. Okay, so we got about 15 minutes left. Anybody else have any questions? John, I'm really curious on your follow-up question, but okay. Okay, so Sin, I don't really understand this. So she put a tuck on writer's block, so I don't know what that stuck on writer's block. Okay. Well, why don't you ask a question about your writing? Okay, so Sin, here's the question for you. What are you writing? Fiction, nonfiction, memoir? Are you working on the project now? Are you just thinking about the project? And I'm going to address this in a different way. How's that? Uh-oh. All right, so you know I'm going to embarrass you, Reese. Okay, this is Reese. When I'm with my girlfriend, I feel great, but when I'm not, I start to feel dreadful and lethargic. Do you think you could find a reason for this dependency? Do you really want me to say out loud? Okay. Okay. So Reese, all right, hang on a second. Hmm. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit scientific, but you're smart and I think you'll understand this. So when I'm going to say, have a relationship with someone, our body releases hormones, so not just testosterone and that kind of thing, but other hormones. And some of them make us feel really good and they make us kind of feel a little bit high. But like in a good hormone way, but we feel happy and upbeat and stuff like that, and when we are apart from them, it will drop that hormone level and kind of take us back to kind of our normal place. But Reese, I kind of get the impression that you guys separate and like negative thinking starts to come up and you start thinking, questioning or doubting what's going on. And that's where that kind of heaviness is coming from. So, see, this was a perfect topic today because when you start to feel those sensations, that's when you should tap and that's when you should breathe, so that you can sit there and go, I'm okay, I'm at home, and whatever negative stuff that you're thinking, to just let that go. Um, because it's not healthy to have your emotional place be dependent on having activity with somebody else, and if you and I were sitting in the bedroom together, we would have this whole long conversation, but we're not. So, but Aunt Cindy, I think you know where I'm going with this. So, or Grandma, Nana, Mimu, whatever. Bubby, that's it. Bubby, talk to the boy. I think you know where I'm going with this piece of conversation. And I'm just going to leave it there. Okay. Okay. All right. So, Sin, I would not waste my money on an app to help you with a writing project if you haven't even started on the project. Because those kind of things only support our writing. They don't write it. I mean, unless it's some AI application which just writes it for you, and then you just go in and modify it. But that, to me and to people that do write professionally, they don't really see that as being writing. They just see that as actually, the online comment is that, it's mass plagiarism, because it's just pulling data from everywhere else and plunking it together into one article. So, okay. So Veronica said the tapping helped me to release. Woohoo! And that's one of the things that I really like about it, is that it does give you that chance to just kind of calm down and relax. And the more you work with it, the more your body tends to respond to that prompt. It's kind of like, oh, I know this is going to be relaxing. And, there are times where I will do the karate chop hand and think about tapping, but I haven't actually started tapping yet. And I'm already yawning because my body has gotten used to, when I do this, it's a physical prompt, a cue. If I do this, then this is going to happen. So again, it really is about practicing and doing it on a regular basis. All right, Veronica wants to know, do I need a pet? I lost my darling dog, lonely without her. I'm getting a yes. I'm feeling like, you lost her too soon, and there's grief, but then there's supporting a dog as they go through their life process, which can be really hard, to want to put yourself through that again. But obviously you didn't have that situation happen. And so, yeah, I feel like it would just bring joy and life back into your life. So Dr. Rita says, A-okay. All right. That's okay. I can read around most things, Veronica. All right. I still want John to come back and talk to me. Okay, so Veronica says yay. All right, so now Veronica, I want to know what kind of dog you're thinking about getting, because if it were me, I'd be getting a poodle. Not that I'm not a little biased about that, and would have poodle things everywhere. Oh wait, I do have poodle things everywhere. But no, I'm just nosy and curious. So Sin, you were sitting there talking about writer's block. And again, doing the tapping, doing any mindfulness practice will help move writer's block out, because when people write, usually they're in the flow and things, move through them, the words move through them, the ideas move through them. And if they're hitting writer's block, they're hitting resistance in their space, which is what's making them be blocked. And so doing the tapping, doing the breathing will help recreate your alignment and recreate your flow. Oh, so Veronica is a Chihuahua lady. Well, it's a small dog. It's all good. Raylan likes Chihuahuas. All right. So Christy says hi. Christy, we have a few minutes left. So if you have a question, please do post it below. Or anybody else that has been in here that I haven't heard from, I would love to hear you. Antone, Clint, Marco, Mary. See, now I'm just going to call you all out. And Nola, you got a question for me since you're here bothering everybody? Dawn. Okay, new comment. Wait. Okay, so Christy, I don't just do spirit readings. You have to ask like a real question. That's how I operate. So no dead people, no predict the future, no, just tell me something. I don't just tell something. You have to ask a question. And sometimes the answers are real clear, and other times maybe not so much. I know. So Veronica says, I think that guy got re-abducted. I'm like, yeah. Okay, so no predict the future question, but I'll ask a predict the future question. Okay, Christine. Okay, so all right, so I have to ask for clarity. So have you gone on an interview? Are you waiting to hear from an interview that you've gone on? Uh, you know, inquiring minds want to know. I mean, I've had people go, well, when am I going to get a job? And, but they haven't even gone on any interviews. And so I need for you to provide a little bit of clarity. So did you apply for the job, and are you waiting for a response as to whether you got the job or not? So if that's the question, please just put yes down below. Okay, great. Sin, you kill me. You kill me. So is Michael somebody that we've talked about before? Okay, let's see. Okay. So when I look at Michael's energy with relationship to you, I feel like Michael likes you, but and I don't like to say this, but I feel like he's already kind of put you in the friend zone. So he'll be friends with you and hang out with you and stuff. But as far as it going anywhere and it becoming any kind of relationship, no, not really. But it's kind of nice to have like some guy friends that you can go to a movie with or go to dinner with and not have it be a romantic thing, and it can just be like a fun thing. And I feel like he would be that kind of person, a fun kind of person, but not. I feel like he's put you in the friend zone already. Yeah, Christine, I really appreciate you coming here today, and I'm going to answer this question, but yeah, those are like my pretty basic rules, and so, yeah. Anyway, okay, so her new question is, I'm new here. My question is, is Steve secretly in love with me? Okay, so I don't know that I would put the L word with with him and his behavior. Um, I do feel like he's attracted to you. I do feel like I'm just going to assume based on the energy I'm looking at that he's like kind of flirty with you. But there's also at the same time this kind of hands off thing where he will only allow himself to get so involved and then just stops because he doesn't want to get his feelings hurt. Um, and I kind of don't get the impression that you have exhibited a lot of feedback as far as what you want or don't want from him. Um, okay, so I'm just going to share this part because I can see this. Kind of like Sin's guy, Michael. Um, I think it would be better to like put this guy in your friend zone, and do the flirty thing. But when I look at the two of you together, I'm not feeling it. You know, it might be fun, but when it really comes down to kind of brass tacks, I'm just not feeling that kind of relationship um, with the two of you together. And I don't even know if that's what you're concerned about. See, this is why the specific questions. Um, but yeah, I'm getting a little crush action from Steve from you. So cool. All right, Britt, you have 2 minutes. 2 minutes before we wrap up. And Christine, you never did answer my question, will I get the job tomorrow? So did you go, are you waiting for the answer from an interview that you've gone on? I mean, because if you've gone on an interview, then I will happily take a look at that. All right. I'm wondering if you see John wanting to commit more to me. Okay, Maureen, hang on. It's interesting because when I look at John's energy, I just feel like he's kind of confused. When I see him, I feel like he's a little bit emotionally distant from you. Um, this is my best piece of advice regarding John is that you should let him move it forward, because if you move it forward, I could see where he would just back up and say, yeah, let's be committed, but that's not necessarily what he wants. And my concern also is how emotionally available he is. I mean, he can say, let's be more committed and we don't see other people and blah blah blah, but I feel like you're a very emotional person and need that deeper emotional commitment, and I'm not sure he can give that. But and I'm feeling like there hasn't been enough time for you to discover that for yourself either. If he has enough to give to you. And so my response suggestion is you back off your energy and see if he hangs in there and wants to participate in the relationship, because at this moment you're the one that's putting in more energy than he is. All right. So Christine says, I have a job interview tomorrow. She didn't let me finish my sentence and immediately asked if I can come in tomorrow for an interview. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to kind of pull this out my butt here a little bit, so don't totally hold me to this. Um, I could see where she would offer you a job pretty quickly. Um, if you're in a job, I don't know that I would go there because I feel like they might have a high turnover at that location, and you might be going from the uh, frying pan into the fire. And so go do the interview, have your sensors on, make sure that you kind of feel into the energy. I feel like the lady is kind of desperate. And I don't want you to be desperate too. Okay? All right, well, that is it for tonight. So before I go, don't forget, if you would like to schedule a private consultation with me, please visit my webpage, soulhealer.com. Drop me a note, buy a session, whatever, say hi, whatever. Like my page on Facebook, Dr. Rita Louise. So there's Rita Louise, and then there's Dr. Rita Louise. Please like the Dr. Rita Louise page. Or if you want, you can go on YouTube to Just Energy Radio and subscribe to my channel, which I would totally love, even if you don't view it there. You know, set up the notifications, hit the like button and the bell and the whistle and all those good YouTube things. Okay? And so I'm going to get going. I am Dr. Rita Louise. Thank you all for tuning in to Thursday Night Live. Until next week, be blessed.